Hello, everybody. This is Christy Whitman with the Quantum Success Show, where you can get your information and inspiration to create your desires. And as you can see, I have a friend I absolutely adore and love this woman. Her name is Debra Poneman. And Debra, I'm just so excited to have you on the Quantum Success Show today. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I just want to tell everybody a little bit of a formal background. You did one of the most amazing things. You were one of the top leaders in personal development about 30 years ago, and you were coaching some of the top leaders of today, which we're not allowed to mention, but you were really the success behind a lot of them. And you were a best-selling author and founder of Yes to Success seminars and co-founder with Marcy Shamoff, who I love and adore as well, of your Year of Miracles mentoring program for women. And you have now shared your system used by tens of thousands of people in every corner of the world to create lives filled with success and abundance and deep fulfillment and profound self-love, and yes, even miracles. But what amazes me about you is that you had this robust career starting out, and then you made a decision to be a stay-at-home mom. You put all of that aside to be a stay-at-home mom so that you could raise your two children and be there fully and present with them. And you have, in the last several years, decided to come out again. And you're known as the mentor to mentors. I know your students have taken their teachings and become mega successful entrepreneurs and renowned transformational leaders and New York Times bestselling authors themselves, and millionaires and billionaires, and many of them are household names. So I know that your greatest gift is your deep belief in your magnificence and your ability to convey that belief to trigger profound transformation, including miracles coming true. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, and thank you for inviting me. And I love you and I adore you. And I'm so happy to be here. And that last sentence, when you were saying that my greatest gift was my belief in my magnificence, no, my greatest gift is my belief in everybody's magnificence. And I really, truly believe to the core of my being that everybody was put on earth to, as you know, manifest their deepest desires. They wouldn't have been given those desires if they weren't given everything they needed to fulfill those desires. So even when you have those roadblocks and you think you should give up, keep on going, because your desires will, when you fulfill your desires, then you're putting that piece of the puzzle together so that the world could be a fulfilled place.
That's beautiful. That's it. I'm out. No, I'm kidding. So you talk about, and Marcy and I talked a little bit about this too, but I'd love to hear it from your perspective. What do you mean by the miracle zone?
Oh, thank you for asking me that. Well, a lot of people feel like they can create miracles. As a matter of fact, there are courses on miracles creation. And a lot of times people think that Marcy's and my course, your Year of Miracles, is about miracles creation, but it's not, because you can't create miracles. They're miracles. They're a gift from the divine, and they just happen magically. However, what you can do is you can put yourself in the flow of miracles. And all of the things that people teach, and we are so fortunate at this time in creation that there are so many profound teachers on the planet, and everybody listening is a teacher, or they wouldn't be drawn to you. We learn from each other, and then we share with each other. But all of these things that we learn about having gratitude, about not judging, about not shaming and blaming and complaining, about using the power of our thoughts to manifest what we want, those are all things that put us in the flow of miracles. When we're blaming other people, when we're not taking responsibility, when everything is outside of ourselves, that's happening. It's like all something that we have no control over. that is not going to put you in the flow of miracles. That's not going to put you in the miracle zone. And the beautiful thing is right now at this time in creation, although it does seem to be a turbulent time, it's also a very cosmic, magical, energetically high vibration time. And the miracle zone is just waiting for you to jump into it. And if you do jump out of it by blaming or shaming or complaining or using your thoughts to manifest something you don't want, it's okay. You could jump right back in.
That's the beauty of it. It's never done. You know, it's not like, okay, you messed up, you never get a chance again. It's like, oh, I'm out of that space. I'm judging myself. I'm judging somebody else. Just stop doing it and get back into that flow again.
Right. And what you could do when you do that, you just put your hand on your heart and say, I forgive you. I love you. You're doing the best you can. And then you just center yourself again and then keep on keeping on.
I love it. So I know you've been doing this with Marcy for several years where you have this year-long program. Could you give some examples of some people that have had amazing miracles happen in their lives?
Well, I am a lover of everyday miracles. I think that living in the miracle zone manifests by the proverbial parking space right in front of the Best Buy, you know, or going into the Best Buy and wanting a certain computer or a certain printer and the salesperson says it's gone, you know, there are no more. And then magically, there it is, right there on the shelf, just one left, and that's for you. And then you're walking out the door and you bump into somebody that you've just been thinking about. Those are everyday miracles, or even just the miracles of your kids, your boys coming up to you and saying, you are the best mom in the whole world. You know, I always say, you know, you told the story about how I left my career at the height and I stayed home for 21 years and people say, oh, you sacrificed so much. It's like, no, I didn't sacrifice anything, because if you follow your heart, of course, you're not sacrificing anything. Your heart will always lead you in the right direction. And each of us was put on earth for a purpose. And I know that I'm a speaker. I know that I'm an author. So I gave it up for 21 years. I knew it would be waiting for me on the other side, but it was so much easier to manifest that success when I followed my heart and I had no regrets. Yeah. And not everybody should be a stay-at-home mom, but to me, one, I love you, mommy, is worth more than 1,000 standing ovations. Wow. So there is no sacrifice. And now I'm back. And what's so beautiful, and it's another great principle of being in the miracle zone, is you're going to be successful. You're going to live in the miracle zone by helping other people live in the miracle zone. And as soon as I said, okay, I'm ready, I had all of my students from the 80s, like Marcy Shimoff, like Janet Atwood, like Steve Farber, all of these people who I know that you know, and they're like, what can we do to help you? What can we do to support you to get going again? So
beautiful. Well, you were talking about how, kind of what keeps people out of the miracle zone, like some of the, you know, thinking that we're victims, complaining, judging, that sort of thing. What's one tip that you can give to get into the miracle zone?
All right, well, I'll give you one that most people don't think of. So we know the power of our own thoughts, okay, to create a reality. Actually, I'm going to tell you a little story about something that happened to me a couple years ago. I had an actual near-death experience.
Oh, wow.
And what happened was that I was getting a flu. Usually I get the flu. I just knock it out with a little bit of golden seal, echinacea, whatever. But it didn't work this time. As a matter of fact, I got sicker and sicker and sicker. And by the 5th day, I was so ill that I was lying in bed and I was thinking, I could die here. So I did what any intelligent person would do. I called my favorite healer. And my favorite healer said to me, do you promise that you'll take my advice? And I said, absolutely, because I thought I was dying. He said, call 911 immediately. And I couldn't, because I couldn't even, at that point, I was like really fading. So he called 911. The paramedics showed up. They asked me what hospital I wanted to go to. I named one that was like 10 minutes away. And they said, you know, we don't have time to get you there.
Wow.
My blood pressure was like 58/20 something. And I had 2 bacteria in my blood. I had what's called an acute sepsis. Usually you have a 50% chance of living if you have 1 bacteria in your blood. I had 2. And so They bring me to the hospital and everybody's rushing around the emergency room trying to save my life. And I had this amazing experience. I started going to the other side and I was kind of hovering in between. And I noticed that when my eyes were open, I could see what was going on in the room. And when my eyes were closed, I could also see what's going on in the room. But I saw that there was this divine light that was actually guiding everything. You know, when people say, oh, there are no mistakes in the universe, I'm like, oh my gosh, there are no mistakes in the universe. Even there was a nurse and she kind of fumbled an IV bag and dropped it. And everybody's like shooting her these daggers, like, you know, clumsy. But I saw that when she bent down to get it, it moved her head away from a monitor. And then when another nurse saw that they had to make an adjustment to save my life. And I saw this whole miraculous orchestration, but then the most profound thing happened. And that was my husband had to arrive. My husband arrived. We were actually divorced, but he is my dear. I love him to the ends of the earth, and we're always there for each other. So he wasn't living with me, but they called him. My healer called him. He shows up. He sits down. He's crying because it doesn't look like I'm going to live. And a nurse comes over, puts her hand on his shoulder, and says to him, "Don't worry, she's going to be fine." And out of her mouth, I saw this like pink rainbow, like My Little Pony. Actually, I know your boys probably don't play with My Little Pony, but they might. And it was like this My Little Pony sparkly light. When she said she's going to be fine, it went out of her mouth and into my body. And it strengthened me. And it made every fiber in my body come alive with strength. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I want everybody in the room to gather around me and say she's going to be fine, because I realized if they did, I could get up and go work out at the gym. And then what happened was the doctor walked in, he looked at the monitors, and with this really intense voice filled with fear, he said, "Get her blood pressure up or we're going to lose her." And when he said, "We're going to lose her," out of his mouth came this like gray, remember, I was in a place between life and death. I saw this gray, murky, muddy, it even had a smell, it smelled like a swamp. And it went out and it went into my body. "We're going to lose her." And it took all my strength away.
Wow.
And at that moment, I said, "God, let me live," because I've been talking for years about the power of our thoughts. And I realized that we have got to surround ourselves with people who are thinking good thoughts about us, not those people who want to tear us down, not those people who don't want us to succeed because they think if we're successful or if we're in the limelight, it's going to take something away from them. We want people around us who know that the more successful we become, the more successful they'll become, because we're all moving together. We don't want anybody who is not our cheerleader, who's not on our team, because their words affect us, and thoughts are even finer than words. Just like the atom is more powerful than the molecule, and the molecule is more powerful than the cell, our thoughts are even more powerful than our words. So what can take us out of the miracle zone is surrounding ourselves with people who don't have our best interest in mind, our success, our happiness. And the way to stay in the miracle zone is surround yourself with people who also know that life is miraculous.
Debra, I've known you for so long and I've never heard that story before. That's amazing.
Yeah. And the good news is I lived.
Well, yeah, that's the best news ever. Of course. But wow, the experience to be able to actually see the energy and to see how what it not only did to your body, what it looked like, felt like, even smelt like. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was quite the experience, because again, I had been teaching the power of our words. I'd been teaching the power of our thoughts. And here's another principle of living in the miracle zone. And that is giving thanks for everything that happens, whether it's obviously good or it looks kind of bad, because ultimately the goodness in it is going to show up. So you might as well have thanks while it's happening, because then the goodness and the blessing will show up more quickly. And that, it was very, very difficult. I was sick for a while after that. And it was one of the greatest blessings of my life. So when you could say thank you at the moment, then the blessing shows up, and the blessing sure showed up around that experience.
Well, I love that you're saying that, because it is easy to say, oh, thank you, when, the sun is shining and the birds are singing, and, you're beginning to get flowers from your husband or your wife, or, whatever. And, your kids are saying, I love you. And, you're being given a gift, and, it's like, it's easy to say thank you for that. But when you're not feeling well, and, your lungs are hacking up stuff, or, you got in a fight with your mother, or, just things are not going the way you want. Financially, you're tired of struggling. To be able to get in that space of appreciation and gratitude and say, thank you. Thank you for what I'm learning here. Thank you for the lesson in this. Thank you for the blessing in this. It totally shifts the energy instead of being in that victim space. So.
Right. And because when you're, why me, and this shouldn't have happened, you contract and there's no space for the light to come in. But when you say, thank you, even for this, then you expand, and then there's space for those miracles to just pour into your life.
Love it. Oh my God. So I'm so glad that you finally have come on the Quantum Success Show. This has been amazing.
Well,
Amazing.
thank you for inviting me. I always love talking with you, and I love the energy of the community that you've created. It's such a wonderful, powerful community. And of course, it's a reflection of you, of your beauty and your greatness, and how much you care about your community. It's really real. And I feel it when you're talking about them. So it's an honor to be here.
Thank you. And I do. I care about each one of you. I think of you as being part of my family. So I'm glad that you can sense that, Deb. And I know you have a gift. So you have a free webinar to give to everybody. We're going to actually put the sign up link right under the video. So all you have to do is go right under the video, click the link. It's the 3 secrets to living in the miracle zone. Is there anything you want to say about that before we go?
No, it's just I do the webinar with Marcy Scheimoff, who is my partner in miracles, and we share 3 secrets and more. We actually talk about the dark nights of our souls and how we came through them, and how we created miraculous lives for ourselves, and now in the lives of thousands of people who have become our community. But the webinar is very, very rich with knowledge and processes and tidbits that people can take out and begin creating miraculous lives for themselves.
I know many people have gone through it, and every single person I've talked to said that it was just well worth the time and energy and everything else. So do yourselves a favor, click the link below, sign up, and watch the webinar with Deb and Marcy. So any last words that you want to say before we go?
Yes, there is actually something that I thought about a second ago, and that is, a lot of time when we were talking about to have gratitude for the things that are a little bit difficult, and also to have gratitude for the difficult people. Because I'm not saying that you should ditch anybody who has one negative thought about you, because we haven't come here to have our lives handed to us on a silver platter. We wouldn't have been born if we didn't have challenges, if we didn't have lessons to learn. And sometimes those people who are the hardest are our greatest gifts, because if we could say, thank you, thank you, thank you for the people who are the most difficult, then that's when the greatest spiritual growth takes place in our lives. And that's what we're here for anyway. Gandhi said, if you can't see God in the next person you meet, you need look no further. And I would say if you can't see God in the next person you meet, keep looking at them until you see it, because that's when you're going to begin to live in the miracle zone.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's so true. So true. All those people that have ever pushed my buttons, I'm like, it's not their buttons, it's my buttons that's being pushed. So what do I have to do and work within myself? And that's my opportunity for growth. That's been my biggest, the people that push the buttons, that the hardest, the longest, the biggest, that's my opportunity for expansion and growth. And I bless them for
Exactly. So don't run away, run towards them, because they're here as a gift to you.
Absolutely. So thank you, Deb. Everybody have a wonderful week. Please leave us a comment. Let us know what you're taking away from this video. And once again, I encourage you, highly recommend that you go and click the link below and join the webinar. Thanks, everybody. Have an amazing day. Bye. Thanks for watching, and here is a related video to watch right now. Also, check out my free webinars on creating whatever you want in your life using the universal laws that I explain in each webinar. So share your thoughts by leaving a comment and continue the conversation at ChristyWhitman.com.